What is going on, everyone? It is James, aka the Comic Raider. Feeling quite under the weather, but I am glad to be back. It has been a long time, and I got a new series that I want to try. And as you can judge from the title, this will be something that will come out weekly, so it'll kind of keep me consistent, which will be nice. I'm not trying to do anything groundbreaking. I know that there's 100 other channels that cover weekly books and things that they've read, but I have a personal reason why I want to do this series, which I'll get into. And in turn, if that inspires anybody else, great. That would be awesome. But it's just me holding myself accountable and doing something that I want to do. So I will get into in this since this is the first video. I'm gonna go ahead and explain the why I'm doing this, and then from here on out, it'll just be me going over the books, trying not to make too long of a video, and it'll be whether I get into singles, omnibus, trades, whatever that may be, kind of just discussing what I read. Depending on how much I read, will determine how in depth I get in to it. But we'll just kind of, play it by ear and wing it. But I'm going to go over the why I'm doing this series, and that is because I started my comic book collecting journey as a reader. Got a job, had, disposable income, and started purchasing books, trades in particular, from Amazon. And just reading and reading and reading and reading. And then eventually that led to a pull list, and obviously reading everything that I could that was on my pull list. And as time went on and life goes on, you get busy. And it kind of started reading less. And then when I would read, I had a really hard time retaining what I was reading, and it was very frustrating. And it kind of made me just stop reading altogether eventually. I felt like I can't retain any of this information, so why am I, like I used to, so why am I gonna read if it's a quote unquote like waste of time, if I'm just not able to, if every time I go to read something I gotta reread the previous 3 issues to realize what's going on, this isn't really fun. And so I kind of stopped. In the last few years, I really haven't read much at all. It's kind of been dabbling here and there, but definitely nothing like I used to do. I mean, trades, omnibus, single issues, I was reading all the time. And so I stopped altogether for that reason, or that was my excuse. And recently, I took a college English course, and it was about technology and how that affects us. And the first part of the course was about how it affects us mentally, and it brought up that reading and comprehension and retention, well, the research that we were doing for the class, the person was arguing that it's a skill. It's a skill that you have to learn and then kind of hone in, and you do that by constantly doing it and practicing it. And that with technology, we're so used to just scrolling our feeds and seeing quick information and just processing it quickly and not being able to retain it. And when you Google something, you're Googling this information to find the answer, but then you're not really retaining it because you just found the answer so quickly. You kind of tell yourself, like, I don't need to remember that. If I need to look that up again, I'll look it up again. And I was reading all this and going, that's me. Like, that 100%, I could say that that's happened to me. My retention has gone to crap, and I didn't think of it as a skill that I need to hone in. And so I liked that theory, and it's something that I wanted to change. So that's kind of how this started. And so for the last few months I have been reading a little bit more, and so I just want to do this series because it's going to hold me accountable to reading every week. B, hopefully it inspires someone to read, whether it's because you don't, because you already do, and maybe I introduce you to a new title, or maybe you're kind of, everything I just said kind of just clicked to you, and you were now realizing that, oh, okay, well, it's a skill set, and I need to, practice it in order to really get good at this again. And so that's why I want to do this. And oh, and then also I figured as I gain this retention back, this will be a way for me to keep track of what I've read and keep track of kind of the summary of it. So maybe in the future, when I go to read something, if I kind of forgot what the previous issues were about, I can just come back to my own video and be like, "Oh, okay, there we go. That's what it was." So that's kind of why I'm doing this, and you know, I'm excited, and basically I'll just go through, everything I read from a Sunday through Saturday basis. So I'm not going to include anything I read yesterday. This is basically going to cover what I read last week. Well, kind of the last couple weeks, since this is the first video. I'll just kind of go over a few things that I've read the last couple weeks, and then from here on out, it'll just be on a weekly basis. So I've already got a few books lined up for next week's video, so I'm excited about that. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. First things first, I'm going to start with Spawn, the main title, and this is a series that I have caught up on, and I am eagerly awaiting issue 350 to see who is going to take over the throne of hell. This has been a long build-up. The series is a very long build-up, and the last like 10 issues, I'd say, though, have just been boom, 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 action-packed. Loved it. The whole war going on has been amazing, and I'm very excited to see who's going to take over, who's going to win and have the throne come issue 350, which I believe comes out in a couple of days on this Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So, super excited for that, and this has been a great series. Now, I'm not caught up on all the miniseries. I am working on that. I just restarted King Spawn, so I think I'm only on like issue 6, and they're on like probably 30. So, catching up on that. I don't have my single. Well, I have my single issue somewhere in a box that I really didn't feel like finding, if I'm being honest. So, pretty much those issues have just been so far. There's this cult in a sense that's been following these teachings of King Spawn, and they've been murdering innocent and in particular children because they're trying to get Spawn to intervene. And you've got this you get to see Billy Kincaid come back, which has been awesome. A very different version of him, though, one that has spent lots of time in hell. So it's been a really good series, and the artwork has been fantastic on it. And so far, the story's been really good. I'm excited to catch up. I wanted to try and catch up at least on that one before 350, but that's just not going to happen. So that one's been good. My plan is to catch up on all of the series. I collect them all every week on my pull. It's just a matter of catching up. Spawn I've been caught up with for a while now. That's probably been the only issue or the only series that, even given the last few years, that I've actually stayed caught up on. So very excited about Spawn. Moving on, so that's Spawn and King Spawn. Moving on, first I need a little bit of water, sorry. Moving on has been this series right here, Punisher. This is issue number 1. Then we have issue number 2. And then issue number 3. So, I did not read the previous Punisher series, but I read the previous ones before that. This one's been good. Obviously, it's not Frank Castle, which is, it's different. But I'm still enjoying it. I figured, it's only 3 issues in. Let me give it a shot. Plus, shout out to the homies at the Comic-Con podcast, because they had brought up the series. And I was like, oh, let me jump in on that and start reading that. So, like I said, I've been enjoying it, given that it's not Frank Castle. It's still gory, violent Punisher series. First issue's kind of who he is and who the new Punisher is. And same idea, family gets murdered to start it. Spoiler alert, family gets murdered to start the series, and then he's going to go after the guys who do it. And first series is just kind of that background information of him, a couple detectives who are trying to they end up taking over the family being murdered case, and then finding out who he is. and that he's the Punisher. And so it's him going after, the guys who blew up his family, basically. And then in the second issue, you kind of get, well, first issue, he finds them. I believe by the end of the first issue, he found the guys who had done it. And then, well, he found one of the guys involved, and then that kind of led him to like a upper boss. And then that guy, they gave him a nickname. I'll be honest, I forgot. Again, retention is bad. That's why I'm doing this series. So bear with me. So he finds a guy who's kind of like a know-it-all. What was it, like the broker or something? Basically, the guy is just full of information and will trade this information for you, and or you give him something and he'll give you the information. And so, anyways, he had a bunch of villains as his goons, and Punisher then goes up against all of them, including this guy here, who was basically able to like make his body into any weapon that he needed to. And it was pretty cool. There was like 4 of them, I think, 4 villains that he had to go after, and so he's having to beat all them. And again, violent, gory, and it was really cool seeing him hunt them down, and then getting into this really awesome battle with that gentleman there. And then that's kind of how that one ends, is him successfully beating all those villains. And then we get into issue 3, which he goes up against Fearmaster, which is Taskmaster's daughter, and she has like almost like Scarecrow type abilities, where she starts, I don't know if it was she bites you or she just injects you, and then he just starts hallucinating and thinking all these fearful thoughts and everything. This issue was also very violent. She's got the fang teeth, and it's kind of like Punisher and the detectives are kind of all converging on each other at this moment at a location, and then she goes after the detectives, and that's when it got pretty violent. And then it's him dealing with, what's happened to his family and the why. I believe in the 3rd issue is when he finds out like what really happened with his family and why they were murdered. And then I'm trying not to give spoilers here, but yeah, he'll have his little battle here with Fearmaster. Again, it's great. And then it ends with the introduction to what is going to be, a returning villain for Punisher, but a new version of it, I'm assuming. So that was pretty cool, which now has me excited for issue 4, because now it's going to be him and that person. That villain has basically kidnapped his guy in a chair, which in this case is a girl in the chair, called AAA. So the villain has kidnapped her, and then it kind of ends with a phone call or a message of, hey, I got your person, the 2 of us are gonna be meeting up here soon. And so that was really exciting to see that villain, and it'll be interesting to see the next issue and how that all goes down. So sorry, my last series is gonna be probably my favorite. Spawn's my favorite, but this one was, so I only have issues 2 and 3. I take that back. I have issue 1 somewhere that I did not want to. I should have tried to locate this. Oh, actually, I do have it right here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show off issue 1. So this is going to be Predator versus Wolverine. I have issue 1. Then I had went to my LCS a couple weeks ago and was able to find number 2 and number 3. I think 4 had just came out, but it was sold out already. So I will be finding issue 4. I don't think it's gonna be like hard to find, but I'm gonna find issue 4 to kind of complete the set. This has been, and this was a variant because it was the only one that I could find. But this series was just amazing. I'm not as I flip through this again, I'm remembering I'm not a huge fan of when artwork changes throughout the series, but I believe it was like Ken Lashley who was doing this first part, and it was just awesome. Um, but basically, it's telling the story in three different parts, three different time spans, and so yeah, Ken Lashley was doing present day. Um, Juan Fernandez is doing, or no, that's color artist. I'm sorry. He was doing present day. Oh yeah. So in this one, it was only present day, I think. Or no, Jay Leisting was doing Young Wolverine, and Andrea DeVito was doing Team X. So you got three different artists to kind of distinguish the three different time frames that it's going over. But, and I'm not a huge fan of that, but I understand why you have to do it. But this series was insane. Super, super violent. I know I just said that about Punisher, but it's the truth. Super violent, super gory, and it was everything that you would hope for in a Predator versus Wolverine, and it really went over like from the different time frames. Their first meeting, basically, the two of them meeting each other for the first time and fighting each other, and Wolverine realizing like, damn, this creature, this thing, is unlike anything I've really fought before, and he almost gets just murked. He basically does get murked, but he's able to escape. He does not. I wouldn't say he beats Predator, but he's able to escape from him, and then years go by, and to the point where Wolverine doesn't even really remember him because so many years have passed, but Predator remembers him. Predator is now literally hunting him, and as the series goes on, it kind of covers a meeting that takes place then later, let's just say decades. So then decades later, they meet again, and I don't remember if at a certain point Wolverine like kind of starts to remember like, oh, I have fought this guy before, but Predator goes after him again, and then they have another meeting, and then as this is going on, there is a current battle that the two of them are having, and it's just kind of building up to this eventual like, this is going to end one way or another during the present day story, but it's giving you the background of all the times that they had fought before and ran into each other, in which case again Predator is like just set on, this is my trophy, this is my ultimate trophy, the ultimate weapon, the ultimate kill for me to go after. This is it. This Wolverine is the holy grail for Predator in a sense, and Predator does not stop over all these years of going after him and going after him, and eventually it ends with the two of them having a great battle, and I'm not going to spoil who wins one way or another or the how. Basically, like I said, it's only 4 issues. I highly suggest you pick this up, or because it's already been completed, I expect the trade to come out soon. Pick up the trade, but I love a little 4-issue miniseries like this because, again, for someone who is struggling with retention, this is very easy for me. This was easy for me to pick up, read, be done with it, have a great story. And then in the future, if I decide to go back again, it's only 4 issues. I'll read this in an hour. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be super fast. So, really, really love this series. Cannot recommend this enough. If you're a Wolverine fan, if you're a Predator fan, if you're just a fan of a really cool story and action, violence, all that kind of stuff, definitely check that one out. I just thought it was awesome, man. I thought it was awesome how it gave you the whole backstory, covered kind of all the time, and just really made Predator like, he's a badass dude, and he was not gonna give up, but neither does Wolverine, right? So it was really, really good. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for issue number 1 of what I read this week, and I'm looking forward to next week. Again, I've already read a couple things yesterday, so I've already got at least a video for sure that will come out next week. And I'll be looking to add some more stuff for that one. So As always, thank you all for the support. Thanks to everyone who watches this, and hopefully you stay on board for the rest of the series. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So stay safe, take care, and Comic Raider is out, man. Deuces.